and the startup missions also. So there is a hackathon running as we are here, for all the students of startup missions, which is called the Watson's Challenge, which is a, legacy product of IBM and something on that sort. And we are arranging tech talks across parks in Kerala. We just, concluded one tech talk in Trivandrum the day before yesterday. Today we have it in Infopark Kochi, and tomorrow we'll have it in Calicut. And we are very proud that the speaker who's going to speak to you today, Srinivasan Muthuswamy, is, we have picked the right, the cream of the cream for you, because he is himself a technical senior leader for IBM, and he comes with 24 years of IBM experience, and he is, leading the legacy, yet another legacy product of IBM called IBM Concert, which will be, shortly in the market. So it's my pleasure to welcome Srini, and over to you for the GenAI Tech Talk. I wish you all good luck. Over to you. The stage is all yours.
Thank you. Hi everyone. So today the latest trend is all about GenAI, the LLMs, foundation models. Wherever you go in the computer industry, or even beyond the computer science industry, I think everyone knows about the GenAI. Even my mom knows about this GenAI. Like the only thing that they know is like you ask question, it will give you answer. Earlier you have to go to search engine, search something, it will give you many links, and you have to go through each one of them, which our people like moms or like elderly people or even the previous generation people may find it very difficult. All right, but now that barrier is gone. You ask a question, anything you want to talk about health, I'm having this pain. You tell me, should I be worried? I mean, it's always wrong. Like you have to go reach the doctor. At least first time you have something technology available today where anybody should be able to use, and people, if they ask question, they get an answer in a decent way. Right? That is the technology which we are living today. And then the main part of this talk is there are a lot of people who has a lot of ideas, but they were wondering like what to do, what should I do, how should I make use of this AI technology, how should I have an application, what should I do, or what challenges are there, or if I have to grow in this career, what kind of things I need to build myself as a skill, or what areas I have an opportunity where I can go excel myself. So all these questions we will try to answer. We will give you great examples, and based on my own experience, I'll share my stories. And if there are questions anytime, I think we should be able to discuss. Let's make it very interactive. I'm a completely technical guy, and I develop all these applications myself. And beyond my project or product, I also work out of my own passion, try to build something, just try it, right? So similarly, you should also be able to try it. Okay, so the first question. So what is this chart? What do we understand from here? So what if you have to summarize or tell something else that you can tell about this chart? So how I put this story is, there's something that happened in the industry which we have not seen in multiple decades. Something like a boom. Suddenly everybody in the world started doing something about it. Do you know why? Why this is being talked about so much? Two things. One, it is very simple. What you have to do, just open the window, just ask the question. Second, it works. Yes, of course, it will give you some hallucination, all of that I understand. But at least to most part it works. Correct? That is the two simple thing that we have to remember when any of you are building a product, keep it simple. Second, make if you're able to do these two things, you can build a lot of GenAI applications and transform India, correct? Or transform the world itself, right? At least we can be a huge difference maker in the context of the GenAI, because everybody is just reacting. It's not like, say, for example, search engine is being built over a period of 30 years. Now, if I have to enter, it's a difficult business. But here, this is an open market. Everybody is just starting to react. We can really exploit this situation. That's the message I want to give in this slide. Okay. So now people may be familiar with this, may not be familiar with this. I'll give a simple example. So in like maybe 5 years back, we were working with a bank. Our job is to like there is some use case where if you are in a bank and if you are an employee of the bank, or if you are especially a trader, all your communications are monitored by default, by regulation. Every communication is monitored, right? On all channels, whether you do it in A channel or B channel or C channel, every communication that you do is monitored. Okay, that means there's a huge amount of content that gets generated. It could be an email, it could be a chat, it could be your article, it could be anything. I have to decide by looking at the content, are you manipulating the stock? Are you doing anything that you are not supposed to do? For example, are you influencing the customer against his will to buy something? So there are a lot of regulations. Okay, what did we do? It's a massive amount of exercise that we have to do if we have to build all these classification models. The classification models that we are building are even the rule-based system. So I have seen the rule-based system as well. What do they do? If the mail contains these A, B, C, D keywords, tag it into this category. Like that, I have a keyword system for all the different types of classification that you make, like whether it's an abuse of the system, or whether you are manipulating the stock, or whether you are making very rude answer to the customer. For each of these types, I have one dictionary that is running in production, right? And now they wanted to do a machine learning based. So we tried classification models. It is a very big challenge, I should say. If you have worked on these kind of problems, you can appreciate. First, we started building models to cut out the noise. Okay, because it's easy to build models which can cut out, okay, these are all some newsletters, these are something else that is not required. Because you're full of junk. Very little content is there, everything else you can skip. So we started picking the obvious things and knocking it out. We built few models. The first few calls will reduce you all the noise. The remaining 20% will. Then it was very extremely difficult to create a model with very less content. I have 600 examples of email which tells that there is an abuse. With 600 mail and 6 million emails, there is no proportion. How will I build a classifier that represents the whole thing? It's a very difficult problem. Today, it's like this. Just ask the question. Hello, can you please see this mail and tell me if it is having anything like an abuse, and give some examples of an abuse. Your problem solved. Of course, it's not that simple. Like, it is simple, but you have to put in some extra efforts. This is the technology that is given to you. Imagine the power and the difference that you can make. Right? These deep learning models, you got to really give it explanation. How do I explain my deep learning models? There are several layers of dense network that we create, right? It automatically adjusts itself, and then it tells you whether it is email is A category or B category. But how do you explain? I have no idea. The deep learning, even though it gave a good results, but it suffers in the context of explainability. All right. So that's one of these foundation models. What is the advantage of this foundation model? One, it is pre-trained. That means it understands the world's knowledge. The only thing you have to do is take it and optimize it for your use case. Very little of tweaks required, and we will come to know in the next few slides. So we will talk more in this context. So with this background, let's move forward. So we have seen some, like for example, in each of these companies, you will have definitely asked HR, right? HR is here. So many questions you will be getting, like, okay, this is not working, what do I have to do? I didn't bring my bag, what do I have to do? I want to get this letter, what do I have to do? What is the process to follow? Definitely, have you all faced this situation? What do you do? What do you do?
You go to them and ask directly.
Seriously, even now? Okay,
Certain documentations. we
very
will
good.
offer.
Then, more example, there's nothing wrong, just we are technical people just discussing about the problems. That's any other approaches, methods? Mostly we don't know because we don't even know whom to ask. Okay. Sorry? Sorry? The question is, like, if you have a question about your company, like I want a salary letter, I want to know this process. I'm a new joining. How do I know like I have a requirement? My laptop is not working. Whom should I go and ask? I want to take a leave. Can I take leave? How many days I am entitled to take leave? You can get, as an employee, you can get a number of questions. So what do you do today in your company? Sorry? Of course, that's a very good answer, like, because that's the exact thing that we do, right? Ask your next neighbor. HR portal is available. That is case. Okay, so one is you get so many number of questions and you have somebody to answer, right? People like HR's mailbox is full of so many number of questions. So what we did, we created something to ask HR. Simple. Behind the scenes, box, I just go and ask my question. Just I want this. Get me this. I get it. At least 80% of the problems are solved. There will still be questions that are not available. That's fine. But at least 80% of the problems are solved. And it gives an answer. Right? Answer. It's not like before. You create a decision tree. If that question is A, you do this. If the question is B, you do this. You would have seen the ideas, right? Do you want credit card? Press 1. Do you want savings account? Press 2. If none of this option, press something else. Go back to the mainstream. But they will never let you to talk to the customer executive. Right? That problem is solved. Provided if they use it in an appropriate way. So that is the opportunity that we have to capture. Because still, if you talk with your bank, it doesn't answer. So you have a huge opportunity to go solve things. So that is what I wanted to tell, that there are several problems, if you see here, that we have solved for the customers, where we have seen results. Provided we adopt that approach and put in some extra efforts, understand the problem, and then attack the problem. But the technology is there. It's up to us to use. So then, there is always a problem, right? Whenever we say something works, it always comes with a clause. Yes, it works. One to those small star I will put and say there is a disclaimer. And we can put everything there. So there are challenges here as well, but you have to appreciate the challenge and look at them as an opportunity. One is, also the same problem will come. How do I explain that if I ask a question, you are giving an answer? How do I explain the answer? One good thing is you can put the source. See, look at this source. This is an article from which I am answering this question. Makes sense for publicly available information. Makes sense for a very general knowledge question. So if we say, who won the FIFA World Cup? It's easy. It puts an answer and puts an article. Say that from this page, I got to know that Argentina won the World Cup. Fine. But what about your HR questions? So it has to still put the policy you are right. So those are the things that we have to work out to make sure that it understands, because your policy document is not in the public domain. You have to do something. So the barriers and like for example, you still need to learn the skill because it's a very, very new technology. There are a lot of work that we have to learn, right? A lot of examples are available, but it's not enough. Each one of us has to learn in our own path. Try a few things and learn it yourself. And then the tools So, for example, if I have to create some sort of a React code, there are a lot of tools available. If I have to create a Spring Boot project, yes, it's like this. But whereas create a GenAI project, a lot of help available. The tools are coming up in the market, right? So one can see there as an opportunity to create such tools. Right? You can create such tools as well, correct? So I just want to put down these points and then say that okay, these are all challenges that we face, and make it as an opportunity. Okay. So what do we understand from this slide? It's very difficult to explain. Let me put that question itself so that you know. So earlier we developed an application. Yes, I built a huge banking system. Then I will add an AI. Okay. Can you tell me whether this driver is good? Can I give this insurance policy to this driver, car insurance policy? So we added that extra AI as a last minute choice because I already built my system. Last minute I'll just add an AI because it's a rule driven, not cribbing that it's a rule. No, we should use AI. So let's use AI. Let's create a model because I have a lot of data with me. And I will be able to easily predict whether that driver is a good driver or some categorization. We are able to do. But today, it completely changes because everybody knows this technology. The expertise is different. So imagine if you have to develop a GenAI based application today. Let's say you are developing an application for, take for example, let's say, how do I create a, like if a user wants to create a, let's say, a car insurance, I want a car insurance policy and I have a GenAI application. The volume changed completely. You got to start thinking completely different. All these systems will take a backseat. If I have to create a GenAI application which lets a customer to do certain things and get a service, something like a creating, I need a car loan or I need something, that is a service. So I go to this GenAI application and ask for it. It should interact with me, get my job done. Now, how do you build this application? So that's where the AI first comes into picture because one, you have to start thinking what is doable, what is not doable, and how do I make this communication happen, and how do I tailor this whole scenario so that in 1, 2, 3, 4 steps or X number of steps, the customer can get an answer, at the same time get the service done. So this is a completely new thing that everybody is trying, including us. We built like the application that I am where it's called IBM Concert. We just launched last week. So we are trying to give a use case like how can, today it's not yet available in the feature. So we are trying to understand, okay, all these clicks, every time you have to go click, 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 create a connection, all of that is an extra job. How can I create an experience by just talking, interact? Okay, I want this, I have these systems with me. It's all about the product is all about like vulnerability management. So vulnerability management means it's all about your toolkit. Like I have a Git as a source code, I have Jenkins as a build system, I have something, maybe a ticketing system is a Jira ticketing system, and my scan tools are, let's say, Qualys or some Prisma. I just put all of this and then say go connect it to the system and get the data from it. So today you have so many number of button clicks and you have to do all this. But that whole thing can be done in a different user experience. The user will come without, he doesn't need to know anything, just interact and he'll get the job done. So that is the direction that we are trying to go here. So that's why I said like we have to change the mindset from AI as a plus AI. Okay, I build something, just add AI as an additional feature. Instead of that, we have to start thinking as a, I know this technology, now what more I can do? What is that opportunity I have? How I can gain that market? Every problem we can revisit and start looking into again. So it gives a whole new opportunity for us. So this is just the layer, like we started something here. Now we know what the AI does and start reverse engineering it. Okay, now I have this technology. Now how do I have to start? How do I have to gather data? And how do I have to call my service? Then how do we get the feasibility to the user? But if I have to take a car insurance, then you know what details has to collect, right? And if that person is not telling an information correctly, you also know how to gather that missing information. It's easy to tell, but it is difficult to get a job because we need to create a conversational model that supports this example, right? So that's where all these toolings and other things comes into picture, which we'll talk more in detail in the next few slides. Okay, so if you have to build something like an application for an enterprise, what it requires? The first thing that requires is, see, we have to believe that one model doesn't suit everything. For example, if you want to do a core building, it's a different model. If you want to do a chat, it's a different model. You can't put the core model to go chat. So each one is meant for something else. I mean, I understand there are a lot of models, which is like a model of all models, like I have a tutor of 7 subjects. Yes, that's good, but that's also having only 7 subjects, like not everything. Right? So you also have to think from the first consideration that you have to think is one model doesn't suit all. Second is how am I going to govern this model? How do you know that the model is answering correct? How do you know that the model is not biased? Because the input source can be biased. It has scanned so many number of articles. How do you know that the articles are not biased? Because the moment the article is biased, I mean today everything is biased in the internet, right? If you read a news article, it's biased. So how do you ignore all these things, right? So that is the one space that we can look at as an opportunity, right? And then the scale. So if I put a chat question, how long it takes? At least a second. It's not in milliseconds. But I can make 1,000 requests per second if I am reading a deep learning model easily. But here it's difficult, right? How do I handle this scale? That is another problem that we have to solve. So how we solve is we try to ask as many things as possible outside of this ball game and use the AI in this case only where it is required. Don't simply, I mean, it's not like your friend, like if I am one guy, it's okay. One guy asking question in the chat box, it's okay. It's handled because I always have a scale in my backend, so it will handle it. But imagine I am writing a program and I have to scan every post. Let's say Facebook makes a post. In per day, the Facebook gets X number of posts. Today, the Facebook may be applying a set of points to decide whether it is an abuse or something. It does. But if you have to replicate everything in a GenAI, it's going to be a disaster because how many calls you will make? How many posts and how many calls? So you have to use the GenAI in the right context. Don't simply ask because it is there. Because you are spending money. For every call you have to spend money. So those are all the considerations that you have to do. And then data matters. Right? I'll give a very good example for this. Okay. So let us say we have given all this data and the GenAI is going to answer. So I don't know how many of you have seen the Robo movie. Okay, it asks for it's a very conversational, right? To introduce the AI, the director is asking some questions. Okay, can you read this? Okay, I have read the iPhone directory for all the people. Fine, good. You ask question, what is this person's number? It tells like this. Is it valid? Can it share? Can I share your social security number or can I share your other number? How do you control that? So those are the considerations that you have to do when you are building a system, because easily people can work around and get an answer. You ask one question, it will block you. For example, if I say, how do I attack a system? It will not give you an answer. But ask the reverse question. I am being attacked. I want to know how people attacks me. I want to build a system that will protect me. It will give you all the value. Whatever you wanted to know in the first question, it is blocking you, but if you ask the question in reverse angle, it will tell you the detailed answer. That is how it is little risky. So you got to be a little careful that it can backfire. Provided, so that's why we are building additional set of layers to make sure that we don't give an answer which you are not supposed to get. We don't want to give somebody else's answer to this person. So there are additional layers you have to build on top of this GenAI layer. Either you have to build before asking the question to the GenAI, or once the GenAI creates an answer, you got to filter it before you give it to the user. Otherwise, in an enterprise use case, you will get into troubles, right? Because easily people can manipulate this. Okay, so this is an interesting slide where we are talking about what people are thinking about this GenAI, right? This perception is again a very individual perception, but it is like we try to get a collective answer and trying to put here. So for example, can GenAI explain? A lot of people says no. And does it have ethics? That's a very big question that we have to solve, right? And bias, yes, it can have bias. So how do you protect that? And then trust. How do you make sure that people trust GenAI? It's all this will work, but what is so how do you make sure that the users are trusting that system? That's where it matters. So that's the direction which we are all going. Can I build an application and put it into a hospital? Can I build an application and put it into this bank department? So those are some serious problems that we have to attack it, not like a casual thing, but in a serious effort. Because there are so many places that you have to put such checks and balances, otherwise the answer can go wrong. So what are we doing? So what we do is, we first wanted to take a model which is open source. Because that solves the first problem of trust. How do I know this model is trustworthy? This model is all available in the public domain. You can find out what all documents I have scanned, and you can tell whether the document is the right document or it's a biased document. If you want to remove it. And build yourself, retrain the model yourself. Yes, it will take few days, few months, do it. But all this is a process, well documented, GitHub is available, go take it and do it. So one big open model, which is very comfortable. I can explain to the customer that it is nothing hidden. I can explain every source of answer. Second is, it's very targeted. I don't say that, okay, I have a model that will answer all your problems. No. We say that it's the foundation model. You got to take it for each problem and tune it for each problem. So the responsibility is still with you. The third one, trusted, because we are telling that what are extra steps that we do in order to avoid all this abuse. It's a layered set of content we do. Something like, okay, we do something pre-asking question. Second is after asking, answer is generated. We try to scan whether it is any abuse, whether it is targeting any particular category of people, or is it having any bias. So we put certain litmus tests before we give the answer to you, right? So those are all the things that we are able to explain to establish this transparency, that everything that we do is explainable and it is all written in your the abstract document, right? So now the last part is like, how do we build applications? So one easy example that I can put is like, so this is what we used to do today. We talk about first thing that we do in AI is collect the data. Do we have label data or we don't have label data? If you don't have label data, let's try clustering. Let's start clustering the data. Yes, all this is good, but did it answer? It's very difficult, right? So now instead of doing all this step, because most of the problem is in the data and how we get the labels. If the label is wrong, your questions are wrong, the answers are wrong. So the AI is as good as your data. That's how we say it. If AI is not answering, that means data is wrong. So it's easy to tell. Now we cannot tell. So now we have to be a little more, we have to put in more efforts to defend that, because there is a model that answers, has answers. The only thing that we have to do is, how do I fine tune it for that particular, for example, the HR we told, right? So now we have to scrap all your HR pages. We have to create some content, which we call it as a HR document, which should be very comprehensive. And then we should put some extra prompts to say that if you don't know, say don't know. Don't assume something and tell some answer. We have to put a lot of, I mean, you don't believe it. There is last year we had a challenge in IBM. The only challenge, the challenge was only one thing: write a prompt. We were like, what? That's English. Yes, English. Go write. We just didn't believe this problem. Okay, I want to ask question, I will ask question. We also ask different variety of questions. Do this, like if you do this, like don't do, like for example, like we were asking questions about like, you take this as an example, 1, 2, 3, 4, and give this answer. Like that we created varieties of question. But what happened was, like it was not going beyond that. They had an, so what they said is, this is the only place, the prompt place, you can change your text, and then the program runs. it actually has its own validity in terms of it has a set of questions that it will ask itself, and for that it knows the answer and it compares my answer with that answer and give me a score. So the score highest person, the score, whichever team gets the highest score are the top 3 winners. Fine. Either it's easy, and what's the deal? Let's all try. Oh my god, 50, 40. We were then shocked. What's wrong? I thought it's simple. Then we were challenging ourselves. I even asked the question in the Slack channel. Hey, are you sure that you are getting good answers? I am not getting anything beyond 50. But there are 3 teams who got more than 80. We were very curious. No, because they will not tell the result, no? I mean, they will not tell how they did. They tell only after the announcement is done. So once the announcement was done, then they told the trick. Then we were like, oh my god, I mean, missed it. We didn't read the lines properly. So they said, you can change the prompt, right? But they also said that vector DB in which you are putting the documents, who said you it's your choice? You can always filter something, and then, for example, the main problem that we were facing is the prompt is very generic. The topics are like it could be movies, it could be business, it could be politics, it is sports, it has multiple topics. It got confused. So then what these people did is they created a prompt in such a way that if this is of this topic, then use this as an example. If this is of this topic, then use this as an example. Like that, they were smartly making the prompt. That's why a lot of people missed it. So the average people like me got only that 50, 60. There are some smart people, maybe you, got that extra benefit because they thought something differently. We were trying to attack the problem in a straightforward way. It's not working. You have to think beyond what you can think. That's little. After telling the answer, then oh my god, any problem. It's just that on that moment, that meaning of problem, it didn't strike you. Right? So the solution can be simple, it can be very effective. So go for an effective solution. So that's what I want to tell, that fine tuning and all these things may look like an easy task, but it is not an easy task. It is an equally important task where your skill, your thinking is more important. Alright. I just want to show this. Maybe you all know this slide because it's taken from a public source. So I think this very simple process that we all follow, right? One is you've got to first prepare your content, the contextual data in the HR document, right? You need to write our data pipeline in such a way that the data is scrapped, screened, all the cleanings are done, and then you put into your you translate this data into a vector space, an embedding space. You have to pick the right embedding model and put it in the right embedding space, and then store it in your system. And then the next one is like you need some tools where you can try some prompts. I'll show you some screenshots that right. So you need to pick the right prompt, you need to pick the right model, and you need to start hitting it. And more importantly, you have to retrieve the context, and then you need to see how this context is working, right? So there is also there is a amount of effort that is involved. How do I pick the right context? And then once all this is involved, the rest of the things is simple because the GenAI will answer you provided your question is right, you have right context, and the answer will be given. All right. So it is our job to make sure that user will just ask any question. It is up to us to improve the question in the name of prompt, and then how do we do that? We have 3 contents. 1, the question from the user. 2, you can write anything about the question. 3rd, for this question, where is the source from which I have to get the answer? So that is a context. So you have to pack all these 3 things and then send the GenAI question. Then only you get a better answer. So this is the iterative cycle. You have more time till you get that 80. But if you're stuck at 60, that means you have to think differently. Right? Otherwise, no matter what you tell, you will still stuck at the same point. That means there's something wrong. So in IBM, what we do is like we have this good foundation model library. There are a lot of models from open source. In IBM also they have a model, but we have open source that model as well. And we have a Conclave. There's a tool involved which will help you at least try out quick things without any effort. Because I didn't build an application, somebody has already built it. All I have to do is just write some questions, maybe I can create pre-create with all these questions in one shot, and I can runs that better. It go with all the models available and give me back a result and tell me which model is doing good. So how do I choose the model? How do I choose what prompt I have to work with, or what prompt you have to work with? You have to try. You have to try with different prompts. The tool will not automatically create the prompts for you. So you have to try some attack with the different prompts, which will give you a good answer. And pick the best model that the tool will do, because it will hit all the models in one shot and get you back the result. And whichever models are faring well, you can pick that for your problem. And the third point is the studio. So the prompt can only do certain things, but in the HR kind of data things, like you may use this rack pattern. Again, like it is very limited, right? You need to still, if you want to really have to get some nice answers, you need to do some fine tuning. So for that, you need a studio, something like a tool which will help you assemble this data, label data in a simple way, because you don't need to give a lot of samples. You need to give a handful of samples so that the LLMs understand and answer your questions in a more appropriate way. So there is still some amount of effort where you need to be able to tune this data, and you need some help from the tool so that you can, it helps you practically. Otherwise, you have to do a lot of work yourself. And the last one is like, yes, of course, this is a very common for any production projects. You need to get your MLOps ready so that you can quickly keep training and try. Maybe generally in GenAI models, what we do is like we run the existing model as well as the GenAI models. Even if you have to put two GenAI models and capture all this information behind the scenes, so that over a period of time, you should be able to do this A/B testing and then find out which model is the right model for us to use. So all of that we have to take care. All right. So this is the process. If you have to build something, a new operation, please think in this line. So you will get all this you will get all these tools like this in the open source. You may get from some vendors. So it doesn't really matter. If you have to build something, first you need to worry about your foundation model. Second, you have to worry about how do I fine tune my prompt, how should I choose my prompt, and how should I choose my model. Then if I have to really improvise, and how do I fine tune the whole model? I cannot retrain the model because it's very difficult. But how do I fine tune? So you have to pick the answers for this problem. The last problem is simple. This is the engineering problem. So just want to give some screenshots from this my product, the IBM Watson X, just to show you that okay, something like this is feasible and available. Like this is one page that you have a set of models that are available. I mean, purposely I did the screenshot, right? Because otherwise people will think that I'm selling something. I'm not selling anything. I'm only selling the idea that you got to first think about how to choose. But you need to first have a catalog of models that is available to you, wherever the source is, and you need to start thinking about how to try all this in one shot so that I can pick the best model that I need. Right? For that, you need a catalog of models. Second, so this is the prompt lab that I have. So here, if you see here, I can create several number of prompts, and for different problems. So for different problems, there are people who already created a little bit of prompt, so that you can take the starting point. For example, summarization, Q&A. So for this, I have an example, a set of examples, and I can use that to start, and I can start to improvise. And I should be able to create a prompt so that I remember, like I created A prompt, B, I mean 1, 2, 3, 4, hundreds of prompts I can create, and you can automate the system so that you hit all of this, tell me which one works. If you are able to write that nice piece of automation code, you can go to sleep. The next day morning, you will know the result. Okay. So here, if you see, there are some additional ways of setting the transcript. Like for example, I'll give another example. So I wanted to ask this LLM model, like I want the vulnerability. If you have ever worked on the CVs and all these things, you will be able to correlate. Okay, my question was, I want to first assess whether I'm impacted with this CV or not. First, you need to know whether you are impacted or not, right? So I asked this question. I want to prepare a questionnaire for my team so that they will answer the questionnaire. Based on the question, I can decide whether I'm impacted or not. Please give me questions. You don't need to be shameful. Right? You can ask any question. So you ask this question, it gives me an answer. Oh my God, now I cannot programmatically answer this. So I said, like, I need to, please give me I added one more extra line in the prompt. I want a JSON format. okay, it gave me a JSON. I mean, it didn't understand. Sometimes it understands a JSON, sometimes it uses JSON, sometimes it gives the same range. Then I got frustrated. That's when I use this kind of prompt to say, for this question, this is the JSON answer. For this question, this is the JSON answer I need. So in the JSON answer, I put recommendation 1, recommendation 2, recommendation 3. Another problem, okay. So if you are having a problem, okay, are you using Java? Are you using like something like what do I? Old times we create this applet-based application. Are you using this? Are you using Linux operating system? So these kind of questions it can ask based on the problem statement, right? And then you can judge whether you are impacted or not impacted. Like that, I created 5 hours and it worked. At least it gave me a it understood and started giving me some reasonable JSON values. It is not complete, but at least 90% it worked. So advantage of tools like that so that you can express all this. I mean, it looks very funny only, but literally I love this because I want a JSON. I can't deal with this text because I need to automatically automate everything. I need to deal with thousands of vulnerabilities. If I do all of this, if I give an input as a text and if I get output as a text, what to do with that? So then the another part is this is training. So here you can pick a model. You should be able to add a lot of this content in terms of the data that you give, and there is a specific way in which you can give this. It's same like olden times. You give some intent, you put some keywords so that it automatically understands the classifications like the tree that you are trying to create. You can simplify and it's the conversational flow and to be able to understand which intent the question is coming from, right? So I just want to hint that okay, you need some tools which will increase your productivity. And if you are really wanted to start creating a model all by yourself, please feel free to do so. So there are a lot of open source material available. The data is also available. The paper is also available. And the thing that you have to do is like start everything from scratch. Train a custom model. Like it may take terabytes of data. If you are computing power, feel free to try. Right? And then there is custom training as well. You can do instruction tuning. You can do so everything you can do. And finally, you will create a model that you want. And if you have a lot of patience, otherwise start something like what we do. Take somebody's model and start building it. I think this time many of you might have tried. You were enthusiastic in this one. So the first example that I tried was that the football match. So I was very curious to say, okay, what is about Messi? How many goals he scored? Like that, we started asking many questions. We realized that it's not an answer because none of this data is available in that training model. So we have to start building something. So there's already the OpenAI themselves gave a lot of code, like where you can scrap all these Wikipedia pages and other pages. You can create a vector DB, the embedding in the vector DB. And when question comes, you can create an embedding, search that space, find that right sort of context, and then start answering this. Beautiful example, write it. So then I learned the art of how do I. So the technique is the same. One of the model, but now I can apply the same technique for any problem that I am wanting to solve. So the basic thing is, if you have a document, there are a lot of converters available in the public domain. If you are using Python library, there are hundreds of libraries available if you want to deal with Python, the PDF or email or anything. For all of this, you have a set of tools available which will help you create that embedding and chunking as well, because you need to be careful about the chunking. But whenever you are chunking it, please careful about the context because you will lose the context. For example, this happened when we enthusiastically started doing, we built an application for SBA. I mean, we haven't got, it's not an official project, just like that, curious. Like, I will grab all the data from SBA and I will answer. And then suddenly, before nothing is answered, then we realized that when we are scrapping and we are chunking the document, the first paragraph went into some chunk, the second paragraph went into some chunk, and there is no connection between the first paragraph and second paragraph. And most importantly, the topic itself did not get into the chunks. It is all about loans. There is no word loan in that particular chunk. So they didn't answer. So then we realized that there is a lot of extra work that we have to do where you got to not just read that HTML as a content and then paragraph by paragraph you chunk. No, you got to send that extra piece of context, like when it is for loan, like you can tell, like it's a hierarchy that they were created on the page. So it depends on web page. For at least this page, we started giving the extra content in each chunk that we create. Otherwise, the chunk will not have any meaning. So then, the embedding is an easy process. We have a lot of models for embedding. It's up to you to try. And then some are paid, some are not paid. So feel free to try. If it is paid, it's not much of money. I mean, you $10 should be okay. And Elasticsearch, yeah, that is mostly for you can store them as well. Again, you will have more specific databases now, Melvis or any you should be able to pick. And then once all these are done, then when you are giving a prompt, you have to do the same process, create an embedding, source the space. For all of this, you will have this LangChain based tools available. So it's easy to build any such model. At least a quick, within a day or two, a few days, you should be able to get that basic thing run. Then your problem only starts about like how do I improve this? The only goal will be to improve this, because otherwise the bringing the base model is very easy. In 2 days you should be able to get it up and running. So this is a stack we follow, like where we are talking about this. Anyway, this is all about like the tools, the data part, and the platform. The platform that I talked about is like a solid platform where it helps you choose the model, it helps you pick the prompts, helps you do the fine tuning. So all of that should be able to in one or many platforms that you have. And then the integrations, right? So you should be able to write a lot of code, get some integrations done, pull data from different sources. Like for example, if you are working in a ticketing system, if you want to build a chat-based, okay, my customer is facing this problem, tell me some suggestions. Have you seen this problem before? That means you have to start giving integration with a different system. Maybe it's a ServiceNow, maybe it is a Jira. So you have to build these integrations, bring data from different systems. A lot of companies may have two different systems, including my company. The customer issues are in a separate system, the internal systems are in different. We have to do both scans to give a better answer. Plus, most importantly, you cannot compromise cannot share the customer comments directly. So screen all of that. And then the last is the AI assistant, like something like a chat interface, which helps you interact with your customers. So there are several solutions available. You got to pick one of them, then start building such interface. A stream application can help you just to start with. In no time, you can create a chat interface. And after that, more you want, more efforts you have to put, and more you have to pick some libraries which are having more powerful explanations and all that. And you also have to talk about the feedback, gathering the feedback, how do I gather the feedback, if there are any comments, I should gather the comments. So I got to gather all of this so that you will be able to use this for an improvisation of your products. You got to automate all of this because it's difficult to manually screen all of this and improve the model. Right? So build on that layer as well. So I just wanted to touch upon this to say that okay, there's a process involved, there's a set of tool chains involved. You need to look for some frameworks which can help you build all of this in a nice way. At least it will help you in terms of productivity. If everything have to start looking at Python library, yes, of course, there are several Python libraries available. You will spend weeks in choosing which one works for you, right? So that is the advantage of having some nice platforms. So putting AI to work, so you need to start touching your foundation model, the platform layer, and then build some assistants. A combination of these two will help you better results in terms of GenAI application, taking it to your end customers. So here we have platforms. The first layer is everything towards the GenAI. The second one, the what's next data, is all about if you have a variety of data, it will at least help you bring data in one place, query the data, and then start fine-tuning the data, right? So all this scrap data, everything you can put it here in a vector DB, then you can start interacting with the DB to filter all of that. So at least you have something platform available where you can explore. And the last one is governance. So in case if you are worried about whether the model is biased or whether the model is giving the right answer, whether when the model is changed, who tweak the model, so all of that, if you want to figure it out, yeah, so you can have something like a governance. But again, this I just want to give an example so that like you will at least get that concept of you need a foundation, you need some for data, how you manage your large data, and then how you govern your the models and the data. You need to go out both, right? So all of that you should be able to figure out something from your uh, whatever the tools and products that you have, you should be able to filter. So I think next thing will always, I mean, I don't know how many more the AI assistants will come. There will be plenty of AI assistants people are going to see. For example, I gave this example in the previous talk. Like, can you guess like how many hours I wasted just to book all these trips, like book flight tickets, book hotels, and book this? I mean, believe me, I don't know when was the last time I took a train. The last time I went, somebody else booked for me. Like, I have to present I did my master's in IIIT Bangalore from 2011 to 14. So I had to present my paper in Hyderabad, and somebody from my college booked a ticket for me. So I just went and train. I still don't know how to book a ticket in the train. So 3 trains, 2 flights, so many number of trains. How many hours do you think I would have spent? Rough guess. No idea. Just make some guess. 1 hour. 1 hour is not a waste of time. I spent nearly more than half a day just to do this. And still I did a mistake. I miscalculated the train reaching from Calicut to Ernakulam. It is reaching the Vande Bharat reaches by 7:30 or something. By mistake, I booked the flight at 9 o'clock. It's impossible to reach the airport and get that flight. I think the 7 became, I thought it's a 5. My mistake only. I understand, still I made the mistake. Imagine somebody built me an AI assistant like this. Srini, don't worry, I'm there. Just tell me where all you are going, and I will take care of it. I'll do the best possible combination and give it to you. And even book ticket and give it to you. If makemytrip.com offers you something like this, that website is the only website which will have that hit. Like the first time you saw, spike, right? Because they solve the problem. Right? So, I mean, it may look very funny, but seriously, I wasted time. Why should someone waste time? Right? Like that, we waste every day lots of time, and all that can point to this: build more agents, and it will help you focus on the right area and not focus on the areas that are not your core area. Right? So, when we talk. Any guess? Why are we talking this so much of topics in India?
Share your experience.
No. India has 2 things which nobody has. One, producers. We can build. Second, consumers. We can consume. A classic example is UPI. We build the UPI. We consume the UPI. Nobody's right. Can you tell any country which is having something like this? A massive infrastructure where you can even buy, like even for 10 rupees. Why 10 rupees? Even 2 rupees or any rupee you can make a UPI payment. Nobody stops you. Coconut shop, there is a QR code. I think the QR code is most abused in India. Scan and pay. Scan and pay. Stop that. Anywhere. Auto driver is having, taxi driver is having, everybody is having it. That is the power of technology that we created. It's a classic example of how to make use of the technology and take it to anybody in India. No big deal. What is the outcome? There are several outcomes. Suddenly phones, everybody started buying a phone. A lot of people, even including my mom, had a small phone. Now they all need a smartphone. They have to scan and pay. So that is the power that we have, right? Imagine if we start creating, like I gave a classic example on makemytrip.com. If you build an application like that, it's going to be like you are the creator, you are the consumer, everybody is happy, the market is, money is, I mean, everybody is going to use it, right? People will make more travels because it's easy to travel. See, I still haven't booked my personal travel because I'm still wondering where should I go, because everyone says like July is good, but there's a lot of clause. Okay, there's a lot of rain happening, this happening. So my daughter's vacation is in June and July. In the international syllabus, the school starts in the August. So June, July only you can go. Most of the time it's rainy in India. Either it's very hot or it's rainy. If I have to go to Kashmir, yeah, it's a doubtful. I should have gone now, but I couldn't go. So People don't make travel because they don't know what to do, where to go, right? If somebody gives a solution, money is the problem. Everybody has money, right? So there is a lot of opportunities. I think we should all think in a right direction and then start getting into this GenAI. Be the first, attack this field because it's a very, very green field. Start making a lot of these collaborations. And then I think the Technopark kind of like even in Trivandrum, they conduct a lot of sessions. They bring people together, collecting people together. They help you for building many startups. So make use of all these opportunities and then build more such systems which we ourselves can consume. Of course, we can to other countries later. So with that, I just want to like thank the opportunity, and I think Harika and also the team has spoke. So we have this conclave happening in 11th and 12th. So if you want to see it in live action, you want to touch and feel the GenAI systems, feel free to come. So you will see a real system in the booth where you should be able to see it and feel it. So I think, yeah, I'm right on time. but believe me, it's a very good exercise. It's very funny, and you can really enjoy. If you have to bring if you have a set of friends, you can really enjoy. Because like more you try, more the fun you will have in this kind of systems. It's a very, very unique journey that you will have. You have any questions?
Yeah, this was about the RAG part. Well, first of all, thank you for spending the time on sharing all these insights. Question was about the RAG part you showed. I mean, one of the challenges that we typically see with RAG is on the vector DB side, right? Because if you are dragging across, say, 50 gigs of data or 50 gigs of files, then loading everything into RAM and then doing a vector search there is practical many people. So how do you get around that? I mean, is there anything that you have found from your experience?
So that's the two trade-off I talked about. One is like you use a simple rack, and yes, it comes with all these limitations. And another one is you have to spend an extra bit of knowledge or efforts and systems that you have to buy and train. So if your data is so huge, every time you don't need to go search in the, let's say for example you have a 10 terabyte of data of your knowledge, RAG is not going to be the right use case because you have to every time scan this 10 terabyte of data, although it is indexed, but it is still a painful, like it is an expensive job, right? One, you have to maintain that data and keep it accurate. Okay, that is also one problem. The second problem is, where is the infrastructure for that? And third is, every time you query, it takes a time, right? And how do you find the right one? More the data that you put in, more the noise can come. So those are the examples where you should be able to tell, okay, I have huge amount of knowledge, let me fine tune it. Let me give a lot of these documents and train the model on top of that existing knowledge. So that's the trade-off that you have to make. So that, like you pointed out, so once you start hitting these problems, then that is not the right solution. You have to start moving to the next solution, which is a little expensive. But you don't have a choice. You want to get, because that's a very huge amount of data, right? An enterprise can easily have that much of data. For example, there may be an enterprise who wants to scan all their code system in the Git, start building, assisting their employees for their own code, because they don't want to, no enterprise will give the code to any one model to train. So they want to do the model ourselves, right? So it is a piece of, like saying, for example, even we built this Watson code assistant. So it's going to scan all my product repositories in the Git, and then it created that fine tuning on top of the existing Llama model. It is a painful process, but my research team is working on that. So you got to pick the right method of solving the problem. One size doesn't fit all. RAG is like something very simple, like if you have some small content as an extra content, and if you have to answer, yeah, it's good.
I have a question. I don't